Blessed Sunday, everybody. It's pretty late in the day. I forgot it was Sunday, actually, even though the wife and child went to church today. I just got so busy with the truck and other crap that I didn't think about it. But I don't want to miss that, so I'm in a costume. For those of you who were following this summer when I had a short-term job back in Canada in the garden center, I liberated a shirt as part of my severance package, because I was only there for 3 weekends, even though I was promised a few months. They really just used me for the long-term weekends in May when the garden center is the most busy, because I got a bit of a green thumb, so they took advantage of my gardening expertise. And of course, if you follow Canadian news, you'll know they've laid off a lot of people, that particular company there, just because they are using foreign workers. It's cheaper. Much like our major coffee place. But so this Sunday sermon, this is the Sunday sermon video. I thought since I'm wearing red, and it's really easy to understand sermon, especially over here in the Philippines, I talk about lust and the difference between it and love. There isn't really as much difference as we'd all like to believe, or that we're all originally told. I mean, originally, you see something or someone that you like, it's normally a physical attraction that starts it, and that physical attraction is more tied to lust. That that's gorgeous, I wanna get to know her, wink wink, right? And the women here know that they are a commodity, that they can barter that part of themselves for monetary gain. They can prey on the lust of the older, weaker men that come to the Philippines. So it's always been a big sin, one of the big sevens, only because it's too easy. It's related to the oldest profession in the world. Monkeys who understand coins and vending machines will steal things to barter for coins. So they go to the vending machine to buy fruits to give to females to trade for. So that's how simple an emotion and a thought process that is, that even animals understand it. So, and that's why I guess it's one of the most closest to animals when it comes to the sins. I mean, animals don't really have envy, they don't really have pride, they don't really have wrath or treachery. They do have lust though. I mean, you'll see a female dog in heat, you'll see 10 of them following behind her, the males, so they'll fight each other for their turn, right? And when the female's in heat, she doesn't mind if there's 6 or 7 of them. It's enjoyable in that few days of the cycle, right? So what makes it a sin is that, according to biblical stuff, is that you're supposed to be with a partner for other reasons, to create progeny, to build a strong family unit. And if you're just thinking about lust, if you're just thinking about your next conquest, then you're not doing those things. You are simply living for the moment. And that's part of the reason why some of the men come here, is that they never got to have those moments when they were younger in Canada or America or Europe. They weren't cool, they weren't rich, they didn't have charisma, whatever the excuse. And over here, they might not be cool still. Case in point myself, they might not be rich. Or they might be boring and just not have any charisma or social skills. But they can still find a regular source of physical comfort over here. And yeah, some will pay to play, like the oldest profession in the book. And that definitely lust, because you're never paying for anything but the deed. Normally, as soon as it's done, they're kicking them out, do you know what I mean? So, where does that leave us as a society as whole? Well, I mean, there are some cultures, very few, because even those mighty pious ones, people who cover themselves except for the eyes, I mean, the reason why they do that is because the men can't control themselves from getting a little grapey, we'll say, if they see an ankle or thigh, let alone cleavage. Oof. So it's become a problem worldwide in almost every culture, really, except for, say, the Buddhist cultures, who don't look at it in the same way. But that's also why you get places like Thailand, which I love it. It's a great country. Not just for the extracurriculars that most men go there for. I like it for the animals and all the things to do, and for the Buddhist philosophy, because it does make life a little more simpler when you can boil it down to such simple terms. Do unto others as you'd have them do unto you, and try to be a good person so that you don't get stuck coming back as a bug. Lesser life form, whichever term you want to put it. But what's ruined places like Thailand is that it has become too lustful for those other cultures that don't understand the Buddhist philosophies. You get mass amounts of Indians with a dog, not a feather there, and they'll do just horrible things to the locals. But the locals have no choice. They let them in because it's money, right? So lust really doesn't have a good side, and I think that's why it's in those top 7 sins, right? And well, the whole level of hell just for that. I mean, if you watch Little Nicky, great Adam Sandler movie, but no, the John Lovett scene is just classic, right? So it's one of those things where I do say to people, you can have love without lust, and you can have lust without love. And normally, love even starts as lust. But if you're mature enough and you've got your goals focused right, then you can turn that into love. And you can also love somebody you don't lust. I mean, there are a lot of prearranged marriages that happen in parts of the world where, the two people don't even know each other. There's no lust. There isn't even love, but they live together, they build a family together, they build a life together, and that leads to love growing. Because love can find a seed even in the most desolate of environments, whereas lust, not so much. If you're ugly, you're ugly. Nobody is ever pining after you. That's why I find it so amusing when you watch these ridiculously ugly, feminist, extreme, woman-loving women kind of people who, nobody is going to take that by force. Nobody is getting grapey on them because they're hideous. Most men need drugs to get going, to work for those women. It's not even like they're going to be drugged at a bar or anything. But you listen to them talk, and they talk like they're Barbie. That comes from a delusion, of course, that for some reason they think lust will apply to them. It doesn't. It really does apply only to the most sought after. And sure, two ugly people can hook up and there can be lust among them, but that's because they're both settling. And I said this in the videos, non-sermon videos, of course, but like numbers attract. And if you have a balance in the numbers, 2 8s, 2 7s, 2 6s, 2 5s, the relationship will probably last a long time. It's when you have an imbalance, when there's a 2 with a 5 or a 2 with an 8, that lasts a real short time. That's how you know that there isn't love. There's something else. Now, normally the 8 in looks is a 2 in personality, often it's the female who looks great, the outside package is boom. The old saying, good from afar but far from good, comes into play there, because what happens is, once you get to know the person, you realize why they're still single, why they weren't taken, why they aren't for the proper match, because they have some serious personality flaw. And you have a choice. I mean, if you are an ugly dude and all you care about is the looks of the girl and it's just for tonight, it's a short time, not a long time, then, I guess. I've just never been one of those people. I really, I would say my late teens, had that rule that if I couldn't imagine being stuck with it permanently, I didn't want to give it a chance. That being said, have I not test driven? Of course. And the test drives are definitely lust related, right? But for me, at least, personally, I think to myself that there's at least some possibility I could grow to love. So it's one of those things where, as a much older man, mature man, I would like to say, who had a good youth, I didn't miss anything back in the day. So I have the emotional maturity to not let lust govern me. I look at a very beautiful woman like a piece of art. I don't need to own the painting in the museum to appreciate it. And once you reach that stage, then you become immune to the sin of lust because you can't be controlled. Because the biggest problem with being vulnerable to the sin of lust is that you can't be controlled by it. You can be set up, you can be manipulated. So you have to ask yourself at the end of the day, is the trade-off worth it? Especially because of the reputation it tarnishes, not just the person that you're doing those things with. Because if you're in a culture like, say, the Philippines, where there's a shame attached to multiple lovers who are being discarded by men, but to yourself, because at some point they say, a woman has 10 or 15 partners, she's no longer marriageable. Something's broken inside and she'll never have a long-term relationship. And that's been studied, and it's reasonably accurate. But in the same sense, you're not going to find 20, 30-year-old virgins anymore. I mean, I got ridiculously lucky in my current situation, but that's because I didn't rush. I was not controlled by lust. I waited till I found someone that was worthy. And I strongly suggest that to the Filipinos here. Wait until you find someone worthy. There is someone out there, and they're most often not locals, unfortunately, but that's a whole other topic for a whole other video. So I didn't really know how to do this topic, to be honest. I thought a bit about it today, and I was going to do Pride, but I want to wait for that one maybe till near the end of the series. But yeah, you have to ask yourself when you meet someone, if you're serious about a relationship, how serious are you, and what angle are you serious on? I mean, if it's just that you like the way they look, or you like their body, that's not enough, not for long term. And that person that you're with, what is their intent, right? I mean, if you're a 2 or a 4, be honest with yourself, and she's an 8 or 7, over here in the Philippines especially, then you have to question their motive. They might be good, they might be sincere, but for how long, right? Monkey branching is the term, right? Where, a Filipino will choose someone better later on. It won't be because of lust. No, but she will use the lust of the new man to get that new man. So, in a culture built on shame, which we've talked about, that was the first sermon, you don't get a lot of lust-based decision-making, because the first thing that's sacrificed when you have a deeply shame-filled, Catholic-based society is lust. It doesn't get a strong roothold as it does in shameless places like the West, like parts of Europe, or like Thailand, right? So I don't think I got too much more to say on that topic. I guess that's the Sunday sermon. So how about what's left of the Sunday, a blessed Sunday, and I'll be doing my regular scheduled videos for the rest of the week. If you're only interested in these sermons, I'm really tired, then I only post on Sundays, and I try and keep them short. So, and to my request, really, to be honest, which I'm not sure if it's legit or not, but it's fine. I don't mind. I have this kind of background, so I don't mind doing it. It gives a little uniqueness to the channel. So, like, follow, subscribe, hit the bell for new videos. Just so you know, some of the videos now are specific, and so in the title of said video, I will keep the topics just like these. If you're not interested in the sermons, don't hit Sunday sermon links then. I don't blame you. If you're not religious, these are fun. If you're very, very modern, they're passing judgment on you. You probably don't want to hear. So I understand if you skip over these. Maybe I don't get a lot of hits on these, but on the same token, perhaps people who aren't interested in the other topics I have, they're here for that. So, and if I do get up to 500 subs, I will create a private channel where these sermons can go. So they're not necessarily out there for everybody, just for people who want them. So, and of course, if you are a man of the cloth and you're using me for aiding your own Sunday service, thanks a lot, much appreciated. Have yourself a wonderful evening, everyone. Ciao.